Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the GM. I'm your guy, Boulanger, and up next, we're going to jump into the third round of the quarterback competition. So just to reflect, we know round one was an introduction and overview of the quarterbacks from 2017 to 2020, first round picks, and we included Jalen Hurts because I wanted to give him some credit for what he's done thus far in his short career. Um, and so then, in round two, um, we actually looked at the career statistics. So not what our opinions are, not not what we think about a player, but what they've actually done, what we can actually prove. And what we determined, or what I determined rather, is that when you do a combined number for the quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson ranks amongst the best, both his throwing and his running combined statistics. And so we did a round two conclusion with the quarterback ranking, and we had Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen all ranked. And we took off some of the other guys who fell off earlier rounds, like Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, those guys. Okay. And so in this round, we'll be looking at the actual earnings, the actual contracts of these guys, and this will help us determine where Lamar Jackson slots in consideration of what we've already seen. And so, with no further ado, give me a second, guys. Let me get this popped up for you guys. Hope you guys have been enjoying this kind of content. Um, if you have, man, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, so I can keep bringing this to you. Forgive me for the pop-ups. Let's get right here, right? And let's go right here to the slideshow. Get that popped up. And here we go. Welcome to the third round, quarterback competition, right? Quarterback comparison. And so let's look at a quarterback ranking. Uh, and so, I got a one beside Patrick Mahomes because he's the undisputed champ right now. Got Lamar Jackson slotted in at the second spot, Joe Burrow, followed by Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. And as you see, although Jalen Hurts comes in as the second round pick of the 2020 draft, I did put him above Josh Allen because although I don't afford a whole lot of credit for making it to the Super Bowl, that is an accomplishment that Josh Allen does not have. So all Josh Allen has is a couple of Pro Bowls and some good passing numbers, but other than that, he's really not done a whole lot. He gets a lot of hype for sure, and he's done a lot of good things, but he hasn't been able to uh, bring things to completion. Whether it was being an MVP candidate, didn't do enough to win the MVP. Whether it was being in the AFC Championship, didn't do enough to get to the Super Bowl and or win a Super Bowl, much less. So I got him ranked right there. And as I told you guys, if Jalen Hurts happens to win uh, the Super Bowl come Sunday, he will certainly jump up this list because he would have done something that no other person on this list has done, which is win a Super Bowl other than Patrick Mahomes. So let's look at some of these contracts. Okay, so we have the highest per year salary. So this is an annual salary. Um, you got Aaron Rodgers at number one. Now he's not in the quarterback competition, but I want to show these numbers so we have a point of reference. So he slots in at 50 million for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers followed by Russell Wilson. He slotted at 48.5 million. Kyler Murray comes in at 46 million, a little over 46 million. Deshaun Watson is 46 million also annual salary. You have Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy, but he slots down at 45 million. And then you have Josh Allen, who slots in at 43 million. So these are your top six per year or annual salaries for the NFL. And probably the two names on this list that has a lot of controversy surrounding Lamar Jackson, which is probably why he didn't sign a deal last year, is Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. Neither one of those guys made our final cut, and they are in that 2017 to 2020 category. But Deshaun Watson has no personal accomplishments as a quarterback. He has no real playoff success. He has no AFC championships, but he signed two big deals. In fact, one with Houston, and then was traded to the Cleveland Browns, and then signed a another deal. And then Kyler Murray, who was drafted, of course, after Lamar, but has already signed his long-term deal, and he slots in at 46 million. So if I'm Lamar, I certainly wouldn't have been taking less than either one of those guys. It is not his fault that Arizona and the Browns chose to do what they did, but nor should he take a discount. These guys didn't take a discount, so Lamar should not take a discount just because he plays for our Baltimore Ravens. So those are the per year salaries. Okay. Okay. So right here, we got total contract. So this is the whole value of a contract. We got certainly deserving Patrick Mahomes at number one, 450 million for 10 years. That's why he has a $45 million annual salary. And when you will see a little bit more about his contract shortly, which is what also causes a little bit of controversy in Lamar Jackson situation, because you can have that big total value, but it's not worth anything if you don't have the guaranteed money. Okay. But Patrick Mahomes is certainly deserving of having the largest contract in value in NFL history. Then you got Josh Allen slotted in at number two, 258 million for 6 years. Okay. You have Russell Wilson slotted in at number three. He has 242 million dollars over 5 years. You got Kyler Murray at number in that fourth spot for a total value. He has 200, excuse me, and 30 million over a 5-year period. You have Deshaun Watson slotted in the next spot. He has 230 million in a 5-year span. And then you also and then lastly, you have Dak Prescott, which you kind of forget about Dak Prescott's contract a lot of times, but he has 160 million in total value over 4 years, which is kind of surprising that his contract is only valued at 160 million, which is still a lot of money. So those are your top contracts in total value. Okay. So as you look at that total value, I want you to begin to think about where we have Lamar Jackson slotted. And, you got Josh Allen slotted in at the number two total value contract, but he's not in the number two spot in that 2017 to 2020 era where it is time for quarterbacks to get paid their extension. You got Kyler Murray, he's on this list with a 230 value. You got Deshaun Watson, who has a $230 million value. And neither one of those guys are on our list, right? And our list, remember, was not made on what we think or feel. It was made on what the numbers actually say, okay? So let's look at the next list. All right. Right here, we have most guaranteed money, which is really important to a quarterback's contract. You can sign a big number, right? But if you don't have the guaranteed money, then that contract is not always as good as what it looked. So we know Deshaun Watson comes in at the number one spot, most controversial contract probably in NFL history, based on some off field stuff, some situations, and listen, let's be honest, the lack of on field success, right? Let's just be honest. Like an on-field success, and he still signs a big deal mixing in with the off-field issues. Okay, so you got him at 230 million, fully guaranteed contract. Then you got Kyler Murray. He slots in at 189 million, 189 and a half million. So you can round up to 190 million guaranteed. You got Russell Wilson in the next spot with 161 million dollars guaranteed. You got Aaron Rodgers with $150 million guaranteed, a little over 150 million. You got Josh Allen slotted at 150 million in guaranteed money. And then you got Patrick Mahomes, who is and that's what I was saying earlier. He signed the biggest contract in value, but he has the least money guaranteed at 141 plus $1 million, which is really sad. And so, but you hadn't heard him make any noise about, but about getting a new contract or anything like that. But he will sign again the largest deal, probably in NFL history, at the quarterback position. So when you look at this list right here in guaranteed money, again, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, uh, and Josh Allen, they're not on our list, right? So when we have to, when we take real consideration into Lamar Jackson's ranking based on what he's done again, then you have to slot him again above Deshaun Watson, above Kyler Murray, and above Josh Allen. And I know with Ravens fans, they don't feel good to us because that drives up Lamar's price. But the numbers are the numbers. I didn't make the numbers up. They are what they are. Okay. And then you will have to reset the market with a new Patrick Mahomes deal as well. Okay. So right here, we have uh contracts in value. And so again, we have guaranteed money. You got Patrick Mahomes is the number one quarterback, but he only has $140 million in guaranteed money. And you would know he signs the 10-year 450, okay, $45 million salary. And this is our quarterback rankings and where our guys slot in at. We got Lamar Jackson number 2 with a question mark. We got Joe Burrow number 3 with a question mark. And I put Joe Burrow on here consistently. He is ranked number 3, but I have him on here even though he hasn't been paid because he may get a deal before Lamar Jackson get a deal. And that's whether Lamar Jackson gets a deal with Baltimore or another team. And then you have Deshaun Watson. Uh, and so my goal was to kind of highlight where Lamar Jackson ranks in the context of what people are making. Excuse me. And so you got Deshaun Watson at 230. You got Kyler Murray at 189. You got Russell Wilson again at 161. Aaron Rodgers 150. Josh Allen 150. And so what this chart would tell us is that Lamar Jackson is either going to boost Joe Burrow's contract, right, or Joe Burrow is going to boost Lamar Jackson's contract, depending on who gets paid first. But we know based on our rankings, based on what they've done on the field, and Lamar Jackson being an MVP, he has to slot in above Josh Allen. We're not going to consider Aaron Rodgers because he is Hall of Famer and so he got his money based on what he has already done. Russell Wilson got his money on his reputation, not what he had done in recent years, but he has to come in above him. And so when we talk about his contemporary, we have to deal with Kyler Murray. This means that Lamar Jackson's contract has to come in above $189 million guaranteed money. Why? Because one, Kyler Murray doesn't have the credentials Lamar has, right? So he has to come in above that. Well, if you base it on our rankings, he has to come in above in guaranteed money above Deshaun Watson because again, credentials has him above Deshaun Watson. Now I know that there could be a deal worked out where there's some different math associated with Lamar Jackson's contract, but I just wanted to show kind of what his ranking was overall at number 2 in that 2017 to 2020 comparison with his contemporaries and where the numbers actually are. Now, Patrick Mahomes is an outlier. He signed his money way early, but he certainly can be removed from this list and we can just consider the guys that are on the table, and that would slot. So if you remove Patrick Mahomes, Lamar and Joe Burrow sit above them based on what they've already done. So let's look at our next slide. And so right here is a projection that I found. I can't remember where I found it at, so forgive me. A projection of what Joe Burrow's contract may look like. And this is how you know Joe Burrow is going to get a new deal because they're already projecting what his new deal would be. And so when you look at the number, There's a projection of 264 over 6 years, which would give him about a 40, something like a 48 million, $47 million contract, which will put him, if we look at the total value, which is right here, 264 would bring him in above Josh Allen, which is also where he ranks, right? So so does that make sense? So he would be above Josh Allen, uh, and right below Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Um, I haven't found a ranking for Lamar Jackson yet, and so but then when you look at an actual projection, real projection would be, in comparison. So that what they're doing is comparing Joe Burrow's accomplishments to Josh Allen's accomplishments and how he's supposedly outplayed Josh Allen. They bring it in at 6 years and 282 million, which again gives him, like a 48 million to 49 million salary, which again still would put him uh, above Josh Allen, which is where he is supposed to be. Excuse me. And then, so then that kind of helps us establish where Lamar Jackson would be. So that sounds like Lamar Jackson would have to be in that $48 million range, just based on what he's done. And what he has, again, over Joe Burrow is that he has the MVP, whereas Joe Burrow has had a little more or a lot more playoff success. So that's kind of where we are. Okay. So the question is going to be, then what is Lamar Jackson worth? Like, what is his value? Okay. So let me take this down and let's kind of reflect a little bit. So what is Lamar Jackson worth? Well, based on what he's done on the field, okay, and we saw his career numbers and we saw how it ranks up to the other guys, okay, and so he ranks in at number two based on what he's been asked to do, the weapons he's been asked to do it with, right? So when people talk about Joe Burrow and how great he is, you have to afford him uh, um, um, the context that he has the best wide receiving group in the league and has had for the last 2 years. Okay. And so when you look at the numbers and how they project out first three versus first three, Lamar ranks better than Joe Burrow. Okay. That's just the truth. And then, okay. And let's deal with the injury. Okay. So they say, okay, Lamar Jackson's injury prone. He's missed this many games, so on and so forth. Right. Well, you can't get more injured than turn an ACL. And an ACL for a quarterback, much less any other position, is a serious concern. Okay. And Joe Burrow, so we know Joe Burrow has a torn ACL. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a torn ACL. So if his injury history, as far as Joe Burrow, doesn't decrease his value, then nor should it Lamar Jackson's value. So listen, man, I have a sum up video coming up about what we've seen and what we've heard over the 3 rounds, and kind of some contract projections for Lamar Jackson. So listen, man, I appreciate you guys, man. If you like this kind of content, man, hit the like button, hit subscribe, share it with someone. Let me know whatever you want me to know about the video. Um, Again, I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.